Welcome everybody, I'm Dr. Kimberly Erb. We are going to hit big time sugar tonight. You guys ready to hit sugar?
Yes.
Anybody a little nervous about kind of what we're approaching, especially after we've been like really locked in and like not able to move? Anybody have sugar issues this year?
Yes.
Right? So like we did a makeover actually in the beginning of the year. It was, what was it, June? I think we called it the Quarantine 15. Kind of like freshman 15. I have 2 kids in college, so you know everything's about kids in college. So Quarantine 15 was all about, dang, while you're in quarantine, like it's easy to put on 15 pounds. But the quarantine didn't stop, right? It just kept on half of the year. I'm like, the average weight gain this year is sitting at like 15, 20 pounds easy, yeah? And so I think this is a good timing to do a talk on sugar because we are literally approaching the time where usually we just throw caution to the wind. I just want to see my family. Forget it, everybody brings, desserts into work every day. Like this is the time of the year where it's about to be a disaster. So I think it's a good time just to hit the BitterSweet stats. And so if we walk through some of the BitterSweet stats, what's sad about kind of where we are with sugar is that it's really making a lot of people have diabetes. Like the stats on diabetes are crazy. And the good news, I will say on the positive side of things, is that we have seen hundreds of cases of diabetes heal. And it's not even exaggeration. One year we had 20 cases. This year I just last week was working with a boy from Poland with type 1 diabetes. I have a lot of cases of type 1, type 2, and all the different kinds of sugar related types of diagnoses in between. And I've seen every single thing heal. And so that's the good news about having a diagnosis like diabetes. So we've got more than 30 million Americans have diabetes. 1 in 4 don't even know they have it. There's so many people that have it, right? More than 84 million Americans are actually pre-diabetic. So here's what our stats looking like. It's interesting because if you look at the stat right here on the right-hand side, 86 million Americans have pre-diabetes. So that would be like taking the entire East Coast. Connecticut all the way down to Georgia, all those people have pre-diabetes. It's kind of eye-opening, right? And then you look at today, we have almost 5,000 Americans will be diagnosed with diabetes. That's just today. Nearly 30 million Americans have diabetes, and pre-diabetes costs America $322 million per year. Now I know that the prices of insulin, metformin has gone down, which a lot of our families that we've had that were actually taking those medications, it's now, some of my families were spending thousands of dollars a month, and it's dropped it way down. So that's a positive sign. However, we don't want to have to do this. If we can learn the way to heal our bodies, we don't want to have to take a medication. We'd rather figure out how our bodies can heal and then be able to overcome that so then we can actually work on different other parts of our health. 1 in 5 healthcare dollars is spent caring for people with diabetes, and 1 in 3 Medicare. 1 in 3 Medicare dollars caring with people with diabetes. And all of the associated disorders and diagnoses that hit us as a result of it. Because the diabetes is like your first, and then you got a whole lot of other things that your body breaks down and creates as a result of that. So people diagnosed with diabetes have healthcare costs 2.3 times higher than if they didn't have the disease. Now, if you own your own business and you're providing healthcare for your people, it's a game changer if you can help your people not have this diagnosis, right? And again, I think it's real important just for everybody to realize that you literally don't have to have this. You can heal from it. And like I said, we've had hundreds and hundreds of cases of diabetes people heal from that. So that's the good news. Have you guys ever heard of Marshall Islands? Who knows where Marshall Islands is? Okay, so Marshall Islands, very small area that is actually in the Pacific Ocean, and they did some pretty interesting research there in the Marshall Islands. In fact, 60 years ago, they were physically active, the people lived off the land, and virtually there was no diabetes. There's about 50,000 population on Marshall Islands. And so virtually no diabetes. Currently, 80 to 90% of all their food is imported, one of the highest rates of diabetes now in the world. So they bring all the stuff we have here to the Marshall Islands, and now 50% of the surgeries that they have in Marshall Islands are from amputees related to diabetes. 50%. I mean, 50% of the surgeries in one area, 50,000 people. We've got over the age of 35, 50% of the people have diabetes, and 85% of the guys are obese, and 65% of the women are obese. So what we've done by sending in all of our Western ways to the Marshall Islands is literally just destroyed an entire island. So good news is they actually did this research there in the area where they brought in for a 2-week intensive phase. They just kind of did an experiment, 2 weeks. And what they did was they actually had them eating a diet like we teach in the office. We teach out of this book. We have a book called Align Your Health. And in here, there's a couple different eating plans, and one of them is called the Advanced Plan. I'll talk about here in a little bit. And we teach this diet, and it's literally what their diet was. So they shifted their diet to, which is more of a low carb, even the fruits and vegetables are lower carb fruits and vegetables. You know, good organic meats and fats are from dairy and things like that are all organic, grass-fed, things like that. And so they found that their fasting blood sugars decreased an average of 50 to 100. 2 weeks. That's pretty exciting, 2 weeks. Their triglycerides fell 40, another dramatic change. Their weight loss was 1 to 3 pounds per week. I like that, yeah? I like that. You know, we can lose weight through the holidays. It's like we really can do that, lose weight through the holidays. I find that every holiday I try to make sure that I press in harder during Thanksgiving and Christmas than I do even the rest of the year, because so much is like a magnet pulling, you know. They had a disappearance of pain in their legs, arms, and joints. You know, sugar just creates inflammation and makes everything angry, including your joints. That's the first place I feel it is in my joints. You guys, anybody else? First place I feel sugar is in my joints. Less frequent trips to the bathroom.
Well, that would help.
Kind of a benefit, yeah. I mean, kind of a benefit there too. And more energy and increased mental capacity. So 2-week study. Now they actually finished this study out. I think they did it over like a 10-week time frame, and people just continued eating that way. They kept the shift. They added exercise in there. They kept the shift that they did, and it made a dramatic difference. But it's amazing. We opened a clinic, for those of you probably know, our second office that we opened was in Africa, in Zimbabwe, Africa. And there's some pictures around the corner of our clinic that's in Zimbabwe. And it's interesting to me that one of the foods that they have in Zimbabwe, really most of the food that they eat is something called sudza. And it's kind of like corn grits. Have you guys ever heard of it? And it's very, if you look at corn grits, it's very yellow, right? But sudza, when they make it, it's actually very dark. Kind of looks very almost brown. And so it's not super attractive. But when they eat it, it's so dense with nutrients. When we were there opening up the clinic, we were having a battle between them wanting to bring in genetically modified organisms, GMO, corn, GMO, now sudza. So if you know anything about Africa, in this part of Africa, the average death the age is 38, male and female, 38 and 39, and most of them die from HIV. It's not from other things. HIV is the main thing that they die from. So you take the one meal a day that they are getting, which is sudza, which is nutrient packed, and you bring in genetically modified foods, and you now have what we call a bleached sudza. So it's like very white and fluffy, almost like if you can imagine a bowl of rice. Think about the long grain wild rice, how dense it is, and then think about the fluffy white rice. Which one do you like the taste of better? Be honest. They liked, well, you guys are being good, but the fluffy smell of the sugary, fluffy rice, they were really drawn to that, right? So now suddenly we take the sudza away, the one meal a day is now it's like a sugar in a bowl. And so now the disease that we did have, now suddenly we've got heart disease, diabetes, we got all these other crazy diagnoses that we didn't have before. You can't afford that when you already have HIV. Every third person has HIV. And so this is my personal experience seeing kind of what happened in our clinic and trying to help people learn how to take care of themselves. And yet we were working against a machine that was working against us. You know, and so that's really kind of what we see here in Lessons from Marshall Islands. So many of us know sugar is a silent killer. It's a tasty silent killer. It leads to weight gain. Well, we can all agree on that. We all just said this lockdown, we've all had more sugar cravings, right, than maybe we've ever had. Heart disease, one of the biggest things for heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Do you guys know that cancer cells love sugar? So what is the one thing that you should not consume if you have cancer? And I'll go a step further and I'll say, if you've ever had cancer and you've overcome it, don't have it again. You never want to give your body an opportunity to rewire and build more cancer cells and just find another location, right? So that's one thing you never want to do. Depression. It's interesting because it's the first thing you go for when you are depressed, right? Yeah. You want the sugar. But sugar is the thing that keeps our mood a mess, right? Happy, sad, you know, why we give it to kids in schools, I don't understand, because it just makes them a mess. And then if you're the teacher, you're like stressed out every day because the kids are bratty. Like it just kind of is a defeating, you know, the purpose of trying to have a great day in school. Low energy, fatty liver, skin and cellular aging, as well as acne. Those are all things that sugar relates to. But I don't eat sugar, right? You guys ever hear that? I don't eat sugar. If you eat yogurt, you're eating sugar, right? Now, if you eat fruit, even all good, you know, fruit has sugar in it, right? Now, are there some sugars that have lower, or some fruits that have lower sugar? Yes. Okay, tell me what they are. Berries. Granny Smith apples. Granny Smith apples. Grapefruit. What fruits have high sugar? Banana. Mango. Ooh, watermelon. Honestly, think about it. When somebody gives you a piece of watermelon or there's like a bowl and it's cut, like you don't just eat one.
Right, exactly. You keep eating.
Right? You're going to sit there and easily eat the whole thing. Why? Because it's a higher sugar fruit. Let me just say, what are, and then what about the Raisin Bran, right? I don't eat sugar. It's raisins, the raisins, right? Raisin Bran. Right. Exactly, in the grains. What about your vegetables? What are your high sugar vegetables? Potatoes. Carrots. Corn. Beets. Those are your high sugar vegetables. So if you're trying to decrease your sugar intake and follow the eating plans like we just talked about Marshall Islands, you want to choose your vegetables that are lower sugar, right? Or at the very least, make sure that you don't consume them past lunchtime. And maybe just before, like it should be the thing after your workout, like if you're going to do it then. But that's really kind of how you want to handle your fruits and your veggies is watching when you consume them. Now this is a fun experiment. So these little cubes here, how many of you would take like 9 of these and just one after
When
another?
I was a kid, I would.
As a kid?
When I was a kid, yeah, but now
All right.
Horse, I didn't sit there and eat them, but when you're giving them to the horse, you eat them.
oh my God, yeah.
When you're giving them to the horse, you eat them?
Love sugar too.
Okay. That's why they look at their teeth to see if they're going to keep them or not, or they're actually, right? They're viable to race and, right? That kind of stuff. That's interesting. So it's equal to like that teaspoon or the packet of sugar, okay? So 1 cube. Now let's play a little bit. You guys get ready to play? We're going to play, and what you're going to want to do when you go home is you're going to want to look at your refrigerator, and you're going to look in your pantry, and you're going to look at some of these things and kind of read and see where you're at with stuff. Now, first thing you want to pay attention to is you want to look at the serving size. Can everybody see what the serving size is? So always look at your serving size because this is where you're going to get tripped up very easily. So you look at your serving size, and then you want to look at the sugars. So we see 34 sugars on there. Every time you see whatever the sugars are per serving size, divide it by 4. And that gives you how many teaspoons
8,
of sugar is in,
8 plus.
again, the serving size, okay? Stay with me on that because I'm going to trick you in a minute. So 8.5 teaspoons of sugar. Now, does this look like it should have 8.5 teaspoons? Look at the marketing. There's kale, for God's sakes.
It only shows veggies.
Right?
Natural
It shows
flavor.
nothing but veggies. Like when you think about that and you look at that, you think it's going to be a little bitter, right? When you look at that, you think, ooh, that's going to be bitter. That might taste pretty bad, right? And it says dark leafy goodness. So dark leaf. I mean, what is wrong with this picture? This is what we get tripped up on, right? The marketing gets us every time. And so we want to watch this 8.5 teaspoons. Again, are you guys going to take 9?
No.
Or like cut 1 in half? All over the place, right? So 8.5 teaspoons of sugar, we're not going to do that. And you can even see over there in the far right ingredients. Orange,
juice.
right? Orange is the first. So whatever the first ingredient is, when you look over there, that's the primary thing that you'll see in what it is that you're consuming, okay? Next thing, lean cuisine, right? So you're trying to eat lean foods, right? But if you look at the lean cuisine and you go down to the sugars, we're talking about almost 6 teaspoons. When the American Diabetes Association came out, they said, hey, we got to swing things to low fat, no fat. So every time you see the word low fat, no fat, all that means is more sugar. That's all it means. Low fat, no fat means more sugar. Exactly. Yep. So we want to look at that. Now this is yogurt. Okay. So being very careful of the yogurt. Now how many servings are in this?
3.
So that's almost like taking a tablespoon and eating that and that's it. None of us do that. We don't just, okay, I'm satisfied, I'm full, right? So three serving sizes. And then the sugar, 28 grams, so 7 teaspoons. Now, we're not just going to have the 7 teaspoons, are we? 7 times 3, most of us eat the whole container. I mean, let's be honest, most of us eat the whole container. 21 teaspoons. Now, if you look at the other ingredients on there, always pay attention to the ingredients on there. It's got the grade A pasteurized milk, cane sugar, and honey. Like, we don't need to go any further.
Sugar too.
But the marketing looked really good on there, right? So we got to be careful not getting sucked into the marketing on things. What about the Larabar? They're so tiny, right? This tiny little bar, right? And 20 grams of sugar, and it's 5 teaspoons for every. So you just take those 5 little cubes and just one after another. All right, what about Cap'n Crunch? So the 3 kinds. So the average is 10, of those. All that sugar makes you want more sugar. It just makes you want more. There's no satisfaction to it at all. Now here's a funny one, the Thousand Island. So 2 tablespoons is 1 teaspoon. And the same thing with ranch, like 2 tablespoons is a half teaspoon. The funny thing is, like, we don't do 2. I mean, that's 1 piece of lettuce. Right? Isn't that for real? Like you're not going to just have 2 tablespoons. Like you're going to keep pouring it on there. I mean, that's, and usually you go up to the counter when you order the salad and they give you a little container, you're like, can you give me 2 more? At least 2 more, right? Newman's Own, we got, it's getting better, right? This is getting better. 2 tablespoons, 2 grams of sugar. It has soybean oil, but I'm just trying to teach you about sugar right now. But like the first ingredient is soybean oil, so like, yeah. I'm not saying eat this. I'm just trying to teach you about how to read labels. This isn't something I'm promoting for sure. The same thing with Annie's. Like we hear about certified organic. Annie's is like certified organic, right? And you look like the little bar, which they're pretty small, 2 teaspoons for 8 grams of sugar. One of those bars, 2 teaspoons of sugar. This one's fun.
Yeah. No wonder we love it.
Right, so 2 fluid ounces is equivalent to 36 grams, 9 teaspoons.
No sugar.
So every time we think, oh, let's just have some juice. Oh, feed your kids some juice. Oh, just put juice in their bottle. Oh, Right, you wonder, like, we're rotting their teeth out, right?
Just get
So-
some wine like in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, been better. So 9 teaspoons for 2 fluid ounces. So you're suddenly realizing you literally have reached and surpassed your entire sugar intake that you should have for the whole day or maybe the week. And the year. And just by one sitting of your juice that you're doing every day. So eye-opening. This is another one here. This one I think we're getting like paying attention to. We're packing these things in our kids' lunches, right? The Berry Good lemonade. I mean, it has a couple good labels on it, but just be careful recognizing that 1 pouch is 8 grams, so 2 teaspoons of sugar. Like you just have to just choose it. Just choose your sugar, you know, what you're going to do when you're packing your kids' lunches. I like this one. Simple Mills crackers. These are 17 crackers. So I feel, all right, 17 crackers and 0.2 teaspoons for the 17. So that's a good thing. And they come in these little packages. You can pack them in your lunch and your kids' lunch. So that's another kind of a good selling point on those. Have you guys seen these paleo puffs, the no cheese cheesiness? Seen those? So the no sugar in that one, total sugars are 0. And you can see it's cassava flour, coconut oil, like a lot of really good ingredients in there. This is kind of where we're going, like why we're catching us before we go into the holidays. Why we want to we're not going to shave off the 15, 25 pounds that we put on in the COVID year or China virus year. We're going to actually have to totally resist, right? And change our fridge, change our pantry and things like that. So this is what you should have in one day, maximum, according to the American Heart Association. Not according to us, but according to the American Heart Association. They're saying for men 9 teaspoons and for women 6 teaspoons. Can you see that one thing would exceed it for the whole day? Like, now let me exactly, one can. Now let's think about this. Let's talk serious about disease. Everyone around us is healthy? Right? Everywhere we look, someone has a diagnosis, right? Look at the simple thing that we can do. Because like we said, sugar feeds what? Cancer. So if we don't want to have a diagnosis in the first place, then we've got to pull sugar out of the mix, right? But if we have a diagnosis, you starve cancer by pulling sugar out of the mix, right? And I know the marketing was a lie, but think some of those pictures that you saw in there, like kale, and we'll get into that. That's the kind of stuff that you want to add to your life, and your taste buds will change. If you're used to, or you're like you're the person I hate vegetables. I promise you, your taste buds will change. Your kids' taste buds will change. You just kind of have to have a little meeting with your family and just say, hey, we're going to do some things different. And a lot of times, if you draw out like the cancer, we talk about cancer, what, sugar loves cancer. We kind of give them a premise or an understanding. There's a big why behind the change that you make rather than you've just taken something away from me. Because there's got to be a why attached to when you make some of these changes. So 9 teaspoons. What is added sugar? If I keep giving you something sugary, then I know that you'll buy more. What about Mexican food restaurants? Whew. Right? Chips, oh my gosh, bring it on, right? That's just all part of the whole ploy to kind of pull us in with the sugar, flavor to kind of get us to add more. But here's a couple things I think is important for us to kind of look at. Names of sugars and ingredients lists. So when you start looking through the ingredients list, like I said on there, when you go to the kind of to the side of where the calories and all that stuff is, look at the other ingredients, looking at the types of sugar, the types of syrups, and the other added sugars. You can see the other addeds, and this is a real powerful list of just so many things. That's what's creeping that whole sugar load up. Even if it doesn't say the word sugar, well, what if it says, evaporated cane juice or, things like that you just don't realize that is the sugar list on there. It's kind of an eye-opener. Same thing, don't be fooled by, quote, healthy sugar. And it'll get you. It really will. It'll get you every time. Coconut sugar and honey. Now, remember what the Bible says about honey. You guys read the scriptures on what the Bible says about honey?
Do not eat too much of it. It will
make you sick. If we just go back to the Bible's right on, right? But now we walk down an aisle and there's a zillion cereals. And in the cereal, there's a cereal aisle. Like it's literally all cereals, left and right, top to bottom. And what do they all have in common? They all have sugar. So we've gone from the premise that God gave us to like, hey, here's honey. It's found in nature, but if you eat too much, it'll make you sick. Like we've gone way past that, right? To like, we don't know how to do anything but that. And so again, just rewiring your taste buds is going to be something I think a lot of us can do. This is another powerful thing. Now the dyes that you see in all those cereals that we talked about a second ago, I'm picking on cereal right now, but you can see it in a lot of like other things, right? The dyes that you see in there, they're actually made by burning coal tar, and others are derived from petroleum byproducts like tartrazine and erythrocene. So you make these beautiful colors with coal tar. And then you wonder why all the numbers you can see on the left, red 40, red 3, yellow 5, yellow 6, green 3, blue 1, blue 2, why all of them have hyperactivity associated with them. Maybe your kid doesn't have ADHD. Maybe you don't need to put them on all the medications that they tell you to. Maybe we should need to look at what's in their lunchbox or what's being served that day at school, right? And interesting too, you can see on here, chromosomal damage is on several of these. This stuff is so dangerous that it causes chromosomal damage. Like you're destroying the genetic makeup of your body or your child's body, right? And look at all the cancers. So hyperactivity was in all of them, chromosomal damage was in almost all of them, and then different kinds of cancers. All the M&Ms, yeah, there you go, right? Fruit Loops, think about all the different, things like that we have in there. Glycation. Have you guys ever heard of AGES, 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 Advanced Glycation End Products, AGES? This is the beautiful image that I think a lot of us need to kind of cement in our mind about what sugar does to our collagen and elastin. When sugar hits collagen and elastin, it actually makes it inflexible. It doesn't make it stretch and elastic anymore. It makes it inflexible. So it actually makes the skin where you see the wrinkles, it's not even just a wrinkle, like it's a canal. Right? You can't stretch the skin apart because as soon as sugar hits the collagen and elastin, which is super sensitive to sugar, it just makes us age. It makes us literally look older, our skin gets darker and it starts to sag, and it makes the skin inflexible. It also does what to the joints? Same thing. So if you look at your vertebrae in here, so the bones are here, okay? These are the bones. And in between is the disc space right there. This one you can see is swollen. What happens is when you're bending and you don't have elasticity in those discs, you actually throw your back out. You've heard the term throw your back. You get sciatica or things like that because the disc isn't nice and supple and squishy. It's actually rigid, and it gets those divots and canals and it doesn't stretch. So then it actually bulges the discs, and it actually wears on the nerves. So that's where we start getting the pinched nerves. And this is all part of the stuff that you'll see just from the choices that we're making with our food every day. And we're not only doing that, but we do it with our shoulders. See a lot of people with the capsules in the shoulder, gets the eating too much sugar, hits the capsule in the shoulder, so the ligaments and the tendons and the meniscus for the knee here. You see how it erodes the cartilage. You hear people use the term bone on bone, right? You bone on bone, usually not because you've actually hurt the knee or hurt things. It's because of a lifetime of doing things you just didn't know you shouldn't do with your diet. A lot of times that's what that is. And you erode the meniscus, it should be that padding there. I mean, God gave us our joints to last a lifetime. And if you felt like we needed a metal socket in there, he'd have made us like that in the first place. But we are entirely, too many of us, like that's a huge surgery now. People have left and right. We're removing joints like left and right. Like it's just, oh, I got the left one. I need to go ahead and just get the right one done. Like let's just, the knees, same thing. And it's becoming so popular now right? Medicare loves to do that. That's a surgery they love to do, right? And so, and it's sad because when I was a kid, nobody did that stuff. Like when I was a kid, nobody talked about replacing their hips, and now it's become a fad in many ways, but we don't realize that how we got there in the first place. So even if you put that hip socket in there, a new hip in there, pretty soon it's going to be another joint. Like it's affecting every area. You're going to destroy all of your joints by doing that. So this is what you look like after you add such, sodas and the Welch's grape juice and the Snicker bars and just the overload of sugar, or the fast food life. You've got to go to work and you don't have time to pack your food, so you're going to grab and try to get what you think is the healthiest version, even though if you end up in pan, what is it called, the bread place? What's
Panera.
the Panera bread? You end up with Panera bread, or right? What is bread?
Sugar.
Bread is sugar. It turns to sugar, right? And I'm not saying that there may not be a time for good forms of grains, like ancient grains, but if you have a diagnosis like a diabetes, that's definitely not a time. Any kind of grains turn to sugar. So give me some grains. Give me some grains.
Rice.
Rice. What else? Give me some grain. Give me the ones you don't want to get rid of.
Oats.
Rice.
Okay, oatmeal, rice. What else? What about the noodles?
Oh, pasta.
All your favorite noodles, right? So your noodles, your rice,
That's
your
white
your
processed.
steel cut oatmeal, right? Those have even quinoa. It's more of an ancient. But if you're dealing with a diagnosis, then it's not the time to have it. It's sort of the time where you push pause on those things, and you can add them in later once you've healed from your diagnosis. Okay? So, yeah. Ezekiel bread is a more sprouted grain, which is a better grain, and
But it's
you can
still-
have it if you don't have an issue with this. But if you're having an issue with this, then this is where we find replacements, and we don't do that for now. For a season, it might just be a season. If you're dealing with diabetes, it might be until you no longer need, and your doctor is working with you, and you no longer need metformin or insulin support. And your sugar levels are balanced and they're managed, and then you can add it in, and you see how your body responds. What we do in the office is called the 5 essentials. So that's the solution to dealing with something like a sugar issue. And we hit each one of these 5 essentials. And I'll just show you guys, you probably can't see it from where you're at because it's not drawn out very good. But what's the organ? Do you guys know the organ for diabetes? What's the organ? Pancreas. So pancreas, you can see the picture of the pancreas right here if you kind of sneak around your neighbor. But if you back up here, you can see the nerves that go to the pancreas come from right here in the top part of your neck. There? Right in the top part of your neck. That's right. So that means that right after an adjustment right here, you can check your blood sugars. It's pretty amazing. Where you can see people test their blood sugar. I've had people have the insulin packs on, and their levels, when they start getting adjusted, drop 25% after like 2 weeks. So this is the kind of stuff that you can see happen just by getting an organ to the proper nerve supply. So that's exciting. That's one of the next piece we'll hit nutrition. So we hit a lot of the nutrition, but let's wrap it up and make sure we're all on the same page. So how you balance sugar with food. I like the Bible scripture, let thy food be thy medicine. He's really just saying like, hey, I've given you all this good stuff. Like, eat your food rather than taking drugs, right? There's so much good stuff I've given you. I told you what animals to eat, what fish to eat, what birds to eat. I told you all that. And I told you not to eat too much honey or it'll make you sick, right? So the Bible's given us all those things. If we can go back to that purple, beautiful vegetable, eggplant, right? So you can take vegetables and cut them and put them in your lunch rather than, and I'm a big Celtic sea salt fan, so if you like salt, make sure it's a good salt. Make sure you're getting a Himalayan or a Celtic sea salt, not getting some of the processed salts. But that's a good way to get, help you balance your sugars is with cutting up some vegetables, instead of cutting up or eating a Snickers bar. The green leafies, spinach, what else? Broccoli, the beautiful trees, right? What else? Bok choy, kale, Cabbage. Love cabbage. Cauliflower. Asparagus. So there's so many now. Maybe you've only eaten, like when I moved here from Michigan, there were several vegetables I'd never even seen before.
Right.
Avocado was one of them.
Yep.
I was like, an avocado? Like, what do I do with this? Oh, there's a seed inside. Now what? Like when I moved here, laugh at me, but that's exactly what happened for me. And so if it wasn't in my dad's garden, it didn't exist. I mean, that's it. Right? If my dad didn't kill it because he hunted and we fished, it didn't exist. So doing things like choosing those vegetables. Your water, cutting up cucumbers and lemon, slices of lemon, and have that be in the water that you drink every day. It's going to help you detoxify. It's also going to change your taste buds and your cravings for soda, right? Because if you go to work and you have those little vending machines, those vending machines call you, don't they? Right? They'll call you less if you change your taste buds, and they won't have a pull on you. I've made it successfully through Halloween without a Reese's peanut butter cup. I promise y'all can do it too. It's pretty
awesome.
Right? Especially when the kids are all running around with candy everywhere, right? It just pulls you. And then your almonds, snacking on any kind of nuts. Give me some names of nuts that you guys, pistachios, hazel, oh, so good. Macadamia, my favorite. Cashews, my husband's favorite. Now, let me tell you something about eating nuts. Be careful, they are not filled with M&Ms. Because some of you can say, but I'm eating nuts for snacks, and it's like got M&Ms in the package, and you grab the package and you pull out all the M&Ms, right? I ate my nuts for the day. Or it's full of raisins and some of the higher sugar fruits and stuff. So making sure that you're having those types of snacks. So that's going to be how you want to do that. So we hit grains. So balancing sugars, we want to remove the grains if we're trying to really balance sugars, right? So pulling out all the grains and replacing it with maybe a siete tortilla. Have you guys ever had the siete tortillas? Those are almond flour, made with almond flour. Shannon, do you have a package? Bring me the grain-free taco shells and then the package of siete tortillas. If you have those, we can show them. Yes, yes.
You get used to the taste.
You will. That's true. You will. So, and then for tacos, you can do cassava flour taco shells. So this company Siete is a good company for your grain fix. For your chips, right? For those of you who like chips, Siete has chips. Shannon, can you turn my alarm off? I think my alarm's going off. It might be mine. But this is a good company, and they're starting to come out with more and more things. So for the grains, those are the things you're going to want to remove. Your bagels, that kind of stuff. Replace it with things that, like my daughter in her lunch will wrap up the siete tortillas. Those are bags. Nice. Yep. So these are great ideas of things that you can do for the grain piece, right? So to replace the grains, because that's typically where we have the hardest time, is with the grains, I think. And then just literally choose every week, like go in with your kids when you shop, and just go, every week we're going to choose a new vegetable, and we're going to find a new way to eat it. Whether we cut it a different way and it looks fun, whether we make it a different way, like we put olive oil on it, we roast it, like just different ways you can do it. Find a way, and a lot of times if you pull your kids into it, they'll have fun, and if because they did it and it was their idea, they'll like it. So those are just some things that you can kind of do with your kids. Unfortunately, the whole nut thing at school has become an issue everywhere we go, but you can have them, as soon as you pick your kid up from school, that's the first thing Zanae gets. She's got a bag of nuts or something that she can have, because our family eats a lot of different kinds of nuts. A good way to control your cravings is eat protein. So grab something that is a protein, like we have a couple protein bars in here, but notice most of the protein bars have a lot of sugar. Now ours don't, but you'll have to change your taste buds if you're used to a Snickers bar, right? Go for a walk. If you're freaking out and you're craving something, get out of your house. Just go for a walk, get away, get out of the refrigerator, get out of the pantry, just go for a walk. And for those of us who've been stuck at home, like this has been a hard thing, because your fridge is staring at you all day, right? And so is your pantry. So sometimes you have to go outside on your back porch. You have to just, get out of the house to work. Eat fruit. Dark chocolate is another big one. Drink tea. Dark chocolate, that is a very different ball game than the milk and the creamy chocolate. Dark chocolate.
I know.
Who likes dark chocolate? Okay, so you've trained yourself probably to like it, right? That's good. For you folks who have struggled with blood sugar, or you are diabetic, or you know someone who is, I just want to hit 3 products. One's called glucose support, the next one is metabolic support, and the third one is actually a fiber product, Pure Path Fiber. Now, when you are trying to, figure out your net carbs, you guys ever calculated your net carbs with your meals? So if you're doing like keto type eating and you're like, okay, I can only have 30 net carbs a day. What is your friend is fiber. If fiber is in something, you deduct the fiber from it, and guess what? Suddenly your net carbs went down. So fiber is really important for folks who are battling with, and you can just pass this around so you can look at it. For folks who are battling with sugar issues, fiber is your friend, okay? So this glucose support, I'll tell you a couple really fantastic things that is in this glucose support product. You can just take 4 of them, a day. And it's got an ingredient called, these are things that balance your blood sugar and optimize your insulin and shuts down the inflammatory process that happens from it. So it does all of that. One of the ingredients in this glucose support is called gymnema, and it's called the destroyer of sugar. So cool. It's one of those Ayurvedic things that they put like homeopathics and stuff like that. Gymnema is one of the main ingredients in there. And so it's actually sourced from Africa and India. Fenugreek, if you've heard of fenugreek, that a lot of women who are nursing, they can't get their milk flowing, fenugreek is one. But fenugreek is good for boosting testosterone. So you guys that need to boost your testosterone, increases the libido for women, and it helps for breast milk, and then also treats skin and other diseases. So fenugreek is one of the ingredients in that glucose support. Another one called banaba, and that lowers your sugar, regulates your weight, helps you lose weight, and it helps with diabetes and insulin efficiency. Cinnamon, we've heard of cinnamon with sugar, right? You guys have heard of cinnamon. It's a good way to get the cinnamon. But cinnamon is anti-inflammatory, it decreases heart disease, and helps with insulin sensitivity. And then American ginseng, what's that good for? Brain, right? Energy, boosts your energy, lowers blood sugar, cholesterol, promotes relaxation, reduces stress. If you're diabetic, this is why we see prostates inflamed, and this is the reason why a lot of guys are getting diagnosed with erectile dysfunction, things like that, because too much sugar in their diet. It's a game changer. Or you can't pee, like, the prostate's so swollen you can't pee. You can shrink that prostate by doing the 2 things I just said, and you add that dietary piece, man, it's a game changer there. So that's the glucose. The metabolic support regulates your metabolism, carbohydrates, your blood glucose, healthy levels of blood glucose, and insulin sensitivity. It makes you sensitive to insulin. The only way you bring glucose into the cell is you got to spit out a bunch of insulin. But if you're loading your system with too much glucose because you eat so much of it, you wear out your pancreas because it's constantly secreting insulin. So that's the reason why people end up having to take insulin. The thing about insulin is it's also AKA known as the fat hormone. So if you want to be fat, that is a hormone that you take, and people don't end up getting skinnier from doing it. So that's not a very nice name, right? But that's the way that works. Couple other ingredients in that green tea extract is for the metabolic support. So for weight loss, blood sugar, disease prevention, and diabetes, taurine helps with the damage that happens to your eyes, like with diabetes. Damage to your eyes, your heart, your muscles, and the brain, the aging process, like the whole challenges that people get with their brain with diabetes and aging. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Inositol is another one that helps with menstruation, ovulation, and fertility. Carnosine prevents aging, diabetes complications like nerve damage in your eyes and your kidneys. So these are the first time we started selling these products, and this is literally all for those folks who are really trying to get this under control. We have a case I'll show you here in a second of a guy who actually came into the office, and he was on a bunch of diabetes medications, metformin, and a couple of the others that went with it. And he was very overweight. And he started following, he's kind of at his wit's end, like, all right, what am I going to do? And following the advanced plan and working with his doctor who had him on the medication, which is kind of unusual that they will help you get on. You still should push it anyway. He's working with his doctor, started following the eating plan that we just talked about, and he dropped 80 pounds, and his wife dropped 120 pounds. And his A1C, which is a blood sugar measurement, A1C completely normal, and his doctor took him off all his medications, said keep doing what you're doing. He added the exercise component, and it was a game changer, which we'll hit in just a second, because exercise and blood sugar issues go hand in hand as well. Mindset, so stress and sleep. How many of you know stress increases blood sugar? This may be why being at home, this has been a stressful year, right? Have you not ever had to work so hard to take every thought captive this year so that you don't get in fear 24/7? This is spiking our sugar levels, and it's really creates the craving for sugars, right? A social strategy that's really good with the whole stress and the eating and being out is never go to an event hungry. I always eat before I go somewhere. Just never go hungry, because this is the stuff that gets you in trouble. You can kind of walk around the countertop and act like you're eating stuff and just look at it and, oh, it looks good. Right, you can do that. Right, you can do that. But a healthy dish, that's a good one. So this holiday season, you bring the good stuff so that at least you'll know you can eat the turkey and your stuff. Like, you're good with that, right? Because everybody else is not going to do that. And then you can be a hit for everybody and bring the recipe and just share it with people. So they start trying to making steps to doing things healthy. And did you guys know that alcohol was sugar?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I mean, maybe that's where all the sugar's coming from, right? All the alcohol. I've had so many patients this season, they're so stressed they go in their room and they forget dinner. I'm just going to drink a bottle of wine, not a glass, a whole bottle. Forget the glass. The stress, the season, right? I have your exercise actually increases your sensitivity to insulin, which is a good thing. I have a patient that, type 1 diabetic patient, and once you get them to the point where they're no longer, quote, diabetic, that pancreas turns on, they're not needing insulin anymore. I have a patient that's in Poland, and his doctor told him, he said, you're a perfectly normal boy. As soon as he started getting adjusted and he started following the eating plan, and he did some advanced testing that we recommended he do. He's following all the supplements and everything that he needs. And the doctor said, you're a perfectly normal boy. He told him his pancreas was dead at one point. He's 10, your pancreas is dead. And he says that. 12 years old, no longer is his pancreas dead, he's a perfectly normal boy. And they locked down Poland, way more strict than they are here. And now he's not riding his bike to school, which was one of his only forms of exercise. And he's not playing at recess and, running around, kind of doing some of the normal things. And guess what goes up? Right? Blood sugar. So now he's taking 0.25 of insulin, and the only difference is that he's not getting any exercise. And his dad told me, he said, as soon as I can get him on his bike riding around, there won't be any issues. This is where you can see exercise plays a huge role. If it's doing it with our kids, like it's doing it with us, right? And so I'm not trying to make everybody depressed about the lockdown, but I just want to show you, I'm seeing a lot of people getting mad right now. We're not going there. Okay, just the reality, we've got to, what I had to do with Danae was we joined a little volleyball league by us because she wasn't getting enough exercise. And I wrote a letter ahead, she's not wearing a mask, and they were like, okay, they approved it. And so, she got into the volleyball league, and now, just getting exercise. She goes, Mom, my abs are gone. My 10-year-old, she's got these ripped abs. My abs are gone. I'm like, let's just get you in volleyball. Your abs will be fine. Minimizing toxins. The biggest thing, you guys, that I see here is just the sprays and the pesticides, and that's kind of the big one. Genetically modified, the stuff that's being sprayed on all of our foods. And they're actually calling this diabetogens. The stuff that's creating diabetes is all the pesticides. They're calling it diabetogens because it's just trashing our our sugar, insulin sensitivity levels. And we're getting so many more cases of diabetes because of all the toxins that are out there. course, they're in your personal care products, the exhaust fumes and things like that. But just like, I think the biggest thing is just looking at watching the foods you eat, making sure they're non-GMO, you're getting stuff that, and in learning how, to read the labels and being careful of that piece is going to be really important. The chiropractic piece, so as far as chiropractic, what I was talking to you guys about a second ago, just making sure that you understand, without a clear functioning nerve system, without this being straight up and down, right? And then from the side having the 45-degree angle here, here, and there, like opposite. Without those, then the brain can't send the signals down and actually talk to the pancreas the way that it's designed to, so that it will actually respond properly. Then that's how we're going to end up with setting ourselves up with a diagnosis of some kind. So making sure that your spine is clear of subluxation, there's no nerve interference, get checked if you haven't, and clear that out, get in the right routine. And for those of you who are patients already, this is just a good call to remind you to do your rehab. Like I am with you guys in this. Do you know those oversized sticky notes, the big oversized sticky notes? I have a big oversized sticky note that's sitting just as I walk out of my bathroom. And I put dates on the left-hand side all the way down till December 31st. And I put all of my things across the top, and it's so big that I have to look at it every time I walk by. And I got my rehab on there, 15 minutes for my rehab. Like I've got my reading my Bible on there, and I literally had to go 10 minutes a day of just reading something. And like my 10, how much time I'm going to read my Bible, and literally just went through all that. Take vitamins. Anybody of you have a hard time taking your vitamins sometimes? That was me. And now in the morning, I can't wait to go check it off on the list. So whatever it takes to get you motivated, right? Whatever it takes to get you motivated, or whatever it takes to get your kids motivated. I needed a chart. It worked good for me. My husband, he's checking his stuff off the chart. I have to remind him a little bit, but he's got his little things on his chart too. And so we're with you on that. Like, we go through the same struggles, but making sure to do your spinal corrective rehab, making sure you get your adjustment. Like, maybe you just write on there, did I get my adjustment this week? Oh, okay, I didn't get in. I didn't make that appointment. And you can reschedule it. Getting yourself checked, getting your loved ones checked. Like, this is a key piece. We're going to need to make sure that we're taking care of this. Guys, we're going into the holiday season, and if we're not careful, we're going to end up having a whole lot of diagnoses because we've spent so much time in lockdown that now it's time to move. It's time to do some things and really take some good action steps to taking care of your health. So everybody here has been checked though, right? Everybody's been checked? Your spine's been checked? We did yours today. If you haven't been checked, my team's here. They can help you with that. This was the case. This was the guy that actually lost 80 pounds and his wife lost 120 pounds. In the cases in here, you guys can read this case. It's an awesome testimony in the Align Your Health book of just how this guy's A1C completely normalized, got off his metformin, and completely healed from that. Super exciting. So a couple action steps we hit. Maybe get yourself an oversized sticky note. Like, if whatever you need to do, like if you're a list person, like something to reward yourself. Take your rehab equipment, put it next to your toothbrush. Something to remind yourself. Mine goes on my bed. I'm not allowed in my bed. You know, when you get home at night, you want to get in your bed right away. You may not get in your bed until you do your rehab. So that's just some things like that. Just try to do some things. Swap some food things out that you're doing at home. Go through the pantry and start pulling out some stuff that you're like, I should get rid of that. Go through your pantry, clean that stuff out, right? And throw all the Halloween candy away. Just don't keep it, like get it out of there, right? So just a couple things to and bring that meal to, the good healthy meal to Thanksgiving. Bring it to, the Christmas meal. And I think my husband said this earlier today. He said, have them choose what day that they're going to have as a vacation meal for Thanksgiving and what day they're going to have as a vacation day for Christmas. Choose it ahead of time. And then every other day is dialing in your diet. Just choose it ahead so that way you look forward to it. If it is something that you need, choose it ahead so that way not every day is a vacation meal to get you through the holidays. Okay? Questions? Is this helpful? Is this good? Are we all feeling like empowered?
Hungry.
Hungry. All right, guys. Well, be here if you have any questions. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Bless you.